Welcome to Edwards Virginia Smokehouse Cured Meat Q&A. How does salt preserve meat?
I'm not sure I know the science behind that. All I know is when we put hams in salt, the whole point of the salt is it's an antimicrobial. So it pulls, besides the fact it is antimicrobial, it helps pull the moisture out of the ham. And by reducing the moisture in the ham, a fresh ham, it gives it shelf stability. There are many, many books in the marketplace that explain the science behind that. But in the process of doing that, which normally when you put a ham in salt, it takes roughly 30 days to, for us, the way we cure them, it takes roughly 30 days for it to pull enough moisture out of the ham to start the next process, which is what we call springtime. So we put the hams in salt in the wintertime when it's about 40 degrees, rub it in good, wash the excess salt off, hang it up in another room, which is about 50 degrees at 80% humidity, allow it to hang for about 3 weeks, duplicating springtime. And then we go to another room, gradually raising the temperature up to a smokehouse room where we smoke it 7 days at about 85 degrees, and then move to an aging room. This whole period of time, this curing and aging process, and we're pulling the moisture out, and this salt is the beginning part of the process. I'm just curious, way back when humans first discovered the benefits of curing, how was that discovered? Number one, I can only imagine how valuable salt was back in the day before there was refrigeration. And what if in today's modern era, if, as crazy as things are today, if people had to go back to curing meats to survive like they did back prior to the modern era with electricity and refrigeration, how valuable salt would be. My son and I were talking about that just recently, said, so what would be going through our minds? And I said, well, the first thing I'd do is I'd locate about 10 pallets of salt and put them in a warehouse somewhere just to have for our own personal consumption over the course of time, just to have available for us to cure meat, just for survival. And you wouldn't necessarily be just curing pork. You'd be curing wild game if need be. I'm beginning to sound like a prepper here, but back to the question, how does it cure it? We're just applying the techniques that we learned from our ancestors hundreds of years ago, and it works.
In food handler class, safe food handling for chefs, restaurants, or grocery stores, really there's a class called Serve Safe, and they use this acronym called FAT TOM, and it's basically FAT TOM, or the 6 letters of all the things that can cause foodborne illness. Biggest one being moisture. So when we've talked about water with a lot of our products, whether it was the bacon, whether it's the hams, the whole point behind dry curing, one of the biggest factors is reducing that moisture content, which is, germs love moisture. And so you need an antimicrobial as well, something that's going to kill germs. Everybody's running around screaming for Lysol, but the reality is before Lysol, people had salt. It's one of the best antimicrobials, naturally produced, been coming out of Mother Earth for millions of years. And it's very tough for pretty much anything to live in a high salt environment. My thing, look at the salt flats, in this country. Real fast cars can survive on it most of the time, but nothing else is living in the salt flats out there. It's just not a kind environment for germs or any bacteria of any sort. So that's where salt comes into play to help, handle the bacterial growth. And then also with the addition of the moisture reduction that you're getting out, that you're pulling that moisture out, it just provides a safer meat. It doesn't mean it's 100% effective all the time. You have to do it right. There are books out there Virginia Tech actually has a great link on their website on how to cure meat at home. But then, and there are very specific steps you have to follow, or else you'll just get a spoiled salty piece of meat instead of a truly dry cured piece of meat. And it's, it's hams, it's wild game, it's fish, it's, the salt thing. Whoever came up with it, brilliant. They didn't have the scientific level. It was probably trial and error. They found something buried in salt and decided to eat it because they were hungry. It didn't die. Figured it was, well, maybe we'll try this on a better level and see what happens. But there's bound to be science behind it. But, considering it was started over 5,000 years ago, it'd be interesting to see how that all fired up.
So there's a book written by Dr. Norm Marriott and Dr. Ackerman from Virginia Tech, and it was edited by Deborah Lowry, who I believe she used to write for Southern Living magazine, The Ultimate Guide to Country Ham. I'm not sure it's in print anymore, but it actually has in it the science behind curing country ham. You notice all these tabs in here. It's a reference point to answer questions about the science when people ask, which I don't remember right now.
Got a cured meat question? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.